Greetings. I am Byung-gun Park, Director at Dualoth, and I will explain the Passwordless X1280 training materials. In this video, I will explain how to apply the Passwordless X1280 service to a web application. Let me explain the overall table of contents. First, I will describe the sequence of steps for applying the service, followed by an easy-to-understand explanation of the overall service structure using diagrams. Additionally, I will demonstrate the service application step by step, following the sequence. Lastly, the practical training process will be explained in detail through a separate video. First, I will explain the sequence of steps for applying the service. The service application process consists of three main stages. The first stage, service registration, involves registering application information and approving the domain address. The second step involves installing the Passwordless X1280 server. You can easily set up the server using Docker. There is a process for configuring the administrator page, which is provided by the installed authentication server. The third step involves applying the service to the web application. The application methods for the web application are divided into two approaches: the UI provision method and the RESTful API provision method. In this video, I will explain the RESTful API provision method. I will explain the overall service structure using diagrams. The user attempts to log in from the web page. The web server communicates with the authentication server to provide an automatic password to the web page. Simultaneously, the authentication server integrates with the push server to trigger authentication on the user's mobile device. The user verifies the automatic password displayed on the web page and the one shown on the mobile device, then completes the authentication using biometric verification on the mobile device. User authentication information is transmitted to the authentication server through the user connection server. The authentication server then delivers the authentication result back to the web application server. The web application server processes the login completion and can perform the necessary tasks following the login. I will now show you the detailed service application process. I will demonstrate the process of registering for a service. The user goes to the Passwordless members site URL from the right side. The user proceeds with membership registration and installs the Passwordless X1280 app on their mobile device. Next, the user registers an account on the installed mobile app. The user can now log in to the Passwordless members site. After logging in, the user proceeds to add a service in the Passwordless members site. Then, the user verifies the domain address for the registered service. I will demonstrate the process of initially accessing the members site and logging in. The user clicks the Sign Up button and enters the email address and username. When the user clicks the Register button, a verification email will be sent to the email address provided. If necessary, the user can click the Resend button to resend the verification email. The user checks the received email and clicks the verification button in the email message. Clicking the verification button redirects the user to a page in the app to start account registration. The user installs the Passwordless X1280 app on a mobile device. The user launches the installed app and clicks the plus button located in the top right corner. By activating the camera function, users can scan a QR code to register their app account and complete the account registration process. The user can log into the members site and proceed with adding a service after logging in. There are two service addition modes, normal mode and test mode. Normal mode involves registering the web application for actual service, while test mode is for practicing development. I will briefly explain each item in normal mode. The service name is the designation used to refer to the service. The service domain is the domain URL that connects to the actual web application service. The service private IP is the IP address of the web application that the authentication server can recognize. This IP address could be an internal IP if it is within the same network from the authentication server's perspective. Or it could be a public IP address if it is not within the same network. The passwordless server domain is the domain address of the server that receives the authenticated result values from the user's mobile device. In the earlier diagram, it is also referred to as the user connection server. The business registration certificate is a document uploaded to verify the business entity operating the web application server. For more detailed information regarding the business registration certificate, please make a separate inquiry. For the business region, select Asia if the business is located in Korea. Once the service registration is complete, a domain verification token is generated, and the status changes to verifying domain. The domain verification token should be provided to the domain administrator of the web application server to request the application to the DNS-TXT value. The applied DNS-TXT value is used to verify the operating entity of the corresponding domain's URL. Once the service is registered, it will be displayed in the list as shown below. After domain verification is complete and the trust member completes the usage approval, the status changes to in use. The Download License Key File button becomes visible, and the user can save the license key file by clicking this button. This key file will be used later in the Authentication Server Administrator page. I will explain the test mode. Enter the information in the same way as in normal mode. For the service domain and the passwordless server domain, you can also specify IP addresses. In test mode, there is no duplicate check for IP addresses or domain addresses. Therefore, you can freely use it for development. However, test mode is only valid for 15 days after registration, and separate notification messages are not sent. Please keep this in mind as you proceed with development. In test mode, the service is immediately registered as in use without requiring domain verification or trust member approval. Click the Download License Key File button to save the key file. In the test mode, the service list displays a test prefix. The status will be displayed as using test mode. The process of signing up for the member's site and registering the service has been completed. Now, I will explain the process of installing the passwordless server. The Passwordless X1280 server can be easily installed using Docker. When you run the Passwordless X1280 Docker container, the Passwordless X1280 server will be installed. After the server installation, a process is available for configuring settings on the administrator page. You can search for the Passwordless X1280 single Docker container on the Docker Hub website. The server can be installed in any environment where Docker can be installed. I will demonstrate installing Docker on a Rocky Linux server among those options. Once the Docker installation is complete, proceed with the network configuration. Copy the Docker run command from the Passwordless X1280 single page on the Docker Hub website and execute it. The following is the Docker run command, as listed on the Docker Hub site. For the domain option in the command, enter the passwordless server domain that was specified during service registration on the passwordless members site. If you are not using a certificate, set the use_SSL option to false. If you are using a certificate, I will explain it in detail later. Allow the ports used by the Passwordless X1280 server in the Rocky Linux firewall. Once the firewall registration is complete, restart Docker. Verify that Docker has been installed correctly. Also, verify that Docker's network is connected. This is the process of accessing Docker to verify the installation of the Passwordless X1280 server. Verify that the authentication server has been installed correctly. Verify that the user connection server has been installed correctly. Also, verify that the push request server has been installed correctly. I will explain the certificate options. If you are not using a certificate for the passwordless server, as mentioned earlier, set the use_SSL option to false. If you are using a certificate for the passwordless server, you will need a certificate issued for the domain of the passwordless server. Use the issued certificate to create a Tomcat keystore file. Instead of the use_SSL option, set the options corresponding to the certificate details. This is the process for copying the certificate file into the Docker container. Use the container command to locate the container ID first. Then create an SSL folder inside the container. Copy the certificate file into the container. Once the copy is complete, restart Docker. Access the administrator page of the installed authentication server. During the initial access, you need to upload the previously saved license key file. Once the license key file is successfully uploaded, the administrator login screen appears. The initial account is set to admin/admin. This password can be changed later. After logging in, click on Service Server on the left menu. Then, on the Service Server screen, save the server ID. Save the key value issued through the Server Key Issuance button as well. The saved server ID and server key values are required when you apply the web application later. Be aware that it will generate a new server key value each time you click the Server Key Issuance button. If you click the server name item, you can select how to apply the web application. The UI provision method provides a pre-built default UI, which is easy to use but does not allow for UI modifications. The RESTful API method requires some additional code implementation, but it allows you to freely customize the design to suit your web application. In terms of classification based on logical structure, some methods combine password login and passwordless login, and others that separate them. The combine method allows users who have selected passwordless to also use their existing password, while the separated method does not permit the use of existing passwords. To revert to the existing password method in the separated method, you must first deactivate the passwordless account and then proceed. I recommend using a separate method for each. The process of service registration and subsequent server installation is now complete. I will now explain how to apply the web application. There are repositories on the Passwordless Alliance GitHub site that can serve as examples for integrating with web applications. The types of repositories include Java, ASP, PHP, React, and others. I will demonstrate how to apply it using Java among these options. Clone the Java REST API web service from the repository to create the web application. In the following video, I will provide a detailed demonstration of the process for creating a web application. The following is the method for applying the Java API. On the Authentication Server Administrator page, select REST as the API usage type. When you run the web application created using the repository, the login page will be launched as shown. The created web application includes features for membership registration, password login, and passwordless login. It is a sample project that supports password changes and account deactivation as well. You can test both password login and passwordless login. By using the Sign Up button to register, you can proceed with password login. Then, select Passwordless and click the Passwordless Reg/Unreg button to register an account in the Passwordless app. You can now register an account in the Passwordless app. Once the app account is registered, you can try the passwordless login. Compare the automatic password provided by the server and the Passwordless X1280 app to proceed with authentication. To deactivate a passwordless account, click the Passwordless Settings button to proceed with the deactivation. You can build a sample web application using the repository explained earlier, install the mobile app, and verify the operation of passwordless. I will now show you the actual screen in operation. The user enters account details and proceeds with the login. Then, the server displays an automatic password, which is also shown on the user's mobile device. Once the user completes authentication through biometric verification, the web page automatically completes the login process. The sample web application already includes most of the necessary coding for authentication. You will be able to utilize each of these features thoroughly. There is a demo website where you can freely test this out. On the website, you can easily test the sign-up, deactivation, and passwordless login processes. Today's lecture will conclude here. In the next video, I will demonstrate the step-by-step implementation process following the sequence shown today, so you can follow along as closely as possible. That concludes today's lecture. Thank you all for watching.